Now, a new report has suggested that bonuses should be given to teachers to help deal with a growing recruitment and retention crisis. This study has been carried out by the Education Policy Institute, which found that schools in England are struggling to attract and maintain science and maths teachers in particular. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now by education expert and Director of Policy and Strategy at Now Teach, John Blake. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning.
Former history teacher.
Yes.
Why did you leave the profession?
Well, in my case, it was partly because I became interested in the wider policy world and wanted to use my experiences to try and contribute to solve some of the problems that EPI have pointed out. So difficulties of retaining and recruiting teachers and making sure that teachers could manage their workload properly so that it was a useful and productive job for them, as well as something that was enjoyable and provided learning for the students.
So you left for the greater good, if it were, but there are teachers leaving the profession because they're overworked and underpaid. You only left a year and a half ago, so you're well aware of the current challenges in schools. What were some of your colleagues saying to you about why they were thinking about leaving the profession or were walking out?
Well, I think the EPI report suggests that some of that's to do with money, and I think there is some evidence of that, although I'm not entirely persuaded that's the whole reason, because I think we know that teachers in general...
Don't do it for the cash.
Well, also, and when they leave the profession, they tend to take lower salaries. Actually, I think it's partly to do with workload, I think it's to do with student behaviour, and I think it's to do with the ask we make of them in schools and the sort of how effective the work that they're doing is and how effective they feel the work they're doing is in making a difference to children's learning. Schools
are struggling to recruit in all areas, but particularly in STEM subjects.
Yes.
Maths and physics have been highlighted. It's interesting reading this report. Only a minority of teachers possess a relevant degree, so a maths or physics degree, but they're then teaching children. Less than half of GCSE maths teachers have a maths or science degree. This is quite worrying if they're trying to teach the next generations of mathematicians or physicists.
And we know that subject expertise is a really important factor in teacher success, and also that it's a really good way of transmitting the desire for students to study it. So I think it's certainly concerning that we don't have as many experts as we want. And my organisation, Now Teachers, work quite hard to bring in experienced professionals from relevant careers who've got those kind of qualifications, and indeed more than degrees, in some cases PhDs, in their subject. But we're also working quite hard to make sure that we can use that expertise and spread it across the system, because I think we're always going to have trouble recruiting maths and science specialists. There's a huge array of things they can go and do, and as the EPI report suggests, they can get very well paid for those things. So what we also need to do is work hard to use the expertise of those maths and scientists that we do have to spread that across those teachers who may not have a first degree in that subject, but to ensure that they're teaching it as effectively and as successfully as possible.
So you want to try something different and recruit people as teachers as a second career. I've been reading a lot of articles recently about barristers who are giving up that profession to go and teach, high flyers in the city deciding that they've earned enough money, they can go into the classroom. How effective is that? Because presumably they won't have a teaching qualification, their degrees might not be as relevant. How does that work?
So we work closely with our training providers to ensure that our trainees are given the best quality training that they can so they can become expert teachers. But we find that their retention rates thus far have been higher than is normal for their demographic. And we are also working to ensure that the wider system uses their expertise well, so that they feel valued and they want to stay, and also that expertise can change the system enough so that teachers who haven't come in by our route also feel valued and want to stay.
It's interesting just looking at teachers' earnings. If you come in to teach maths or physics or any of those STEM subjects, you actually get paid more because such is the demand for those expertise.
Yes, so there are, again, the EPI report suggests that there is some benefit, although it's not necessarily universally spread. Although it's worth pointing out, I think, that in the areas where they identify that there's real need, which is outside of London, teachers are differentially better paid anyway, because teachers have national pay conditions. Although that's slightly changed now, that generally remains the same. So.
Okay. Give me the elevator pitch on why you should be a teacher. I mean, we're doing lots of reports today about banning the sale of energy drinks because children are coming in hyped up on sugar and there's bad behaviour in the classroom. Truancy is up. We're hearing about social media dangers in school as well. Who will want to be a teacher?
Teaching is great. I mean, I loved being a teacher. I am confident that I will go back into the classroom and die a teacher. Kids are fantastic to work with, but we've got to be clear. I think all of the things that you've talked about today are about ensuring that children have the right boundaries, the right learning to make their own choices in life. And that's an incredibly powerful and empowering thing to do. And I think teachers should feel confident they're doing it, and we want to encourage more people to do that.
OK, well, thank you very much for coming in to talk to us about that. We'll be talking about it.